The bottom line, doing business in Lagos under these new rules, what does it look like to you?
I don't think it's just Lagos. I think it's the entire country. Everywhere in the world that I know, whether you are an employee or you are an employer, there are tax burden that you've got to bear. So Lagos State is just suddenly waking up to, to the norm that is known everywhere in the world. And I think the wind will flow all over to the rest of the country.
This looks very interesting. But again, this also, I can see a bit of aspects of these relating to expatriates.
That's correct.
Of course, what Lagos is looking at because of the number of foreigners who are in the country.
That's right.
Working, they would have to come under some of these new rules.
That's correct. So there are, one of those notices actually relates to taxation of expatriates who are in the country. As you know, when you coming into a country to exercise duties of employment, you're supposed to come under the requisite visa regime. So one of which could be you coming in on a temporary work permit or you're coming on a normal work visa. So when you come in on a temporary work permit, traditionally, a number of people assume that if you stay in the country for less than 6 months, about 183 days, that's all that is required, you won't pay tax. But that's not the provisions of the law. 3 conditions actually need to be jointly met before you'll be allowed to go tax-free in the country. So that rule is what the Lagos State had tried to amplify. But within that context also, like I said, there are also gray issues and ambiguity that will also require some professional advice and guidance in trying to deal with them.
Let's come back after the break. This is not over yet. we just have to unpack a lot more with Yomi Olugbenro, a partner and West Africa tax leader at Deloitte. Of course, the issues around the Lagos State new Lagos Inland Revenue Service is one key issue we're trying. 11 new public notices have been issued, and as you've heard, these are not essentially new laws, and in fact, it's not just about Lagos State. It's federal as it is, so there's nowhere to hide from the taxman. Let's come back to Yomi Olugbenro after the break. Well, let's spend a few minutes to wrap up the new public notices issued by the Lagos State Inland Revenue Service. Yomi Olugbenro, partner and West Africa tax leader at Akisola William Deloitte. Thank you very much. Let's wrap up that very quickly before we move on to some progress reports regarding the tax amnesty. Part of this 11 notices, as we'll talk about the expatriates before the break, but we'll talk about removal and location expenses and tax impacts on them. Outsourcing arrangements and what have you. All these have to do with labor, employment, and things like that.
That's correct. So, so we have provisions in our law relating to instances when you go to pick up employees from recruitment agencies. So many of those recruitment agencies are employers of those individuals, and they outsource to the ultimate employer. So there are rules around what is the obligation of the outsourcing company and the ultimate employer, or the one who is exercising supervisory role over those individuals. So essentially, like the way the public notices say, the arrangement between the outsourcing company and the employer is that of a contract of service. And when you get paid based on the commission for providing employees, withholding taxes is supposed to be payable. And that's what those public notices try to do. It still says the obligation to account for the personal income tax rests with the outsourcing company. However, the ultimate employer is also obliged to ensure that necessary tax remittances are done. Otherwise, that obligation falls back on him.
It goes double way.
Well, it could be double way, but it goes double if the right things are not done. So the outsourcing company is supposed to account for pay of its own employee.
Yes.
But if as
but not the ones he outsourced?
No, the one he outsourced are actually his own employees, because those are the people that sit on his own payroll. Yeah. So I have 2, 3, 4 people working with me, and I have them on my payroll. I have responsibility to account for their PAYE. If I outsource them to you, I would necessarily charge you a margin or a commission for provision of the services. So the margin element, it attracts withholding tax, for example. But you are not expected to account for the personal income taxes of my own staff. But if I fail to do, as the ultimate user of those services, the tax authorities will come asking you to account for the obligation.
To cover the obligations.
That's correct.
I think we've got to leave this for now. It's still early days. A lot of dust is being raised over there. Let's try and blow some of them away. And thanks for doing that for us. Let's get to the tax amnesty progress report. Is anyone paying so far? You were aware of?
Well, I think a number of taxpayers are responding. From the way I see it, I think it's not moving at the pace I expected. But I expect that a lot more of sensitization and campaign will continue. It's not unexpected. It's not unusual. In our own environment, a number of people sit back just to watch and observe. Is this real? Is it genuine? Is the intention real? Is the intention real on the part of the tax authorities? And as soon as they are able to convince themselves that the motives are right and fair, they get on board. But there's really no time to wait, because by 31st of December, if any taxpayer failed to take advantage of that, you already lose the penalty.
But you just said the response is not as you thought. Perhaps because you're in the practice, you expect individuals and companies to have lined up from here all the way to your office asking you to help them sort out their tax papers, but that doesn't seem to happen.
Well, we're having responses, but like I did mention, it's not at the pace that I expect. I feel the pulses of many of my colleagues. I feel the pulses of many of the tax authorities. It's almost 3 months down the line.
Into the deadline.
And by 31st of December, some of the benefit that is accruable under this scheme will actually be away. By 31st of December, if you haven't put in your own application, you're ordinarily supposed to be entitled to waiver of interest and waiver of penalty. By 31st of December, you're left with just one, which is penalty. So you will pay interest if you put in an application by January or by February, even though the old scheme is supposed to last by 31st of March.
Do you think there should be an extension?
I think there should be an extension. I ordinarily expect that the scheme that was planned to be 9 months ideally should run for 12 months. I probably also don't believe that there should be a cutoff of benefit by 31st of December, because there's a lot that is involved in trying to make sure that your tax position is put in the proper place. The tax authority expects you to put very credible, very verifiable, supported by documentary evidence when you are making your claim. I think the amount of time that is required to do that, it's a lot of work that's involved.
Would there be a lot of burden on the authorities themselves to try and start verifying thousands and thousands and thousands of these papers?
I actually still get amazed as to the capacity of the tax authority to deal with all of the issues, if everyone that is expected to come on board actually did come on board. And I predicted at the start of the scheme that if half of the people who are supposed to take benefit of this gets on the scheme, there is absolutely no way an extension to 30th of June won't be in the line.
You just said tax is the new oil.
Correct, Wilson. Tax is the new oil.
Yes. So we've done about 2 point something trillion this year.
That's correct.
Target is about 5 trillion plus.
That's right.
So we have 90 days, and we have a balance of about 3 trillion that are not yet collected.
And I'm worried. I doubt the possibility of moving any close. Because we've gone past the filing deadline for many of the corporates. So many listed companies and the multinational and the big company you have in a business have December as a year end. So they have by 30th of June and maybe extension for 1 or 2 months in some cases to put in their tax returns. So by end of August, whatever hasn't come in by way of corporate income taxes, just a fraction of that is what you expect for the rest of the year. So the possibility of meeting that target, in my mind, is very remote.